Allegro in music means a tempo, marking indicate to play fast, quick and bright. And I couldn't agree more, but not in the way that you think. Hello and thank you for clicking on this video where I'll be sharing my experience about an IEM from a company that I honestly have not heard before until recently. And this is their first IEM in the entry, the Allegro from Plussound. I've seen conversations about this IEM in forums and I googled about it, and looking at the price tag simply knocked my soul out of my body. It's a 2 dynamic driver, 6 balanced armatures, 4 electrostatic drivers coming in at a whopping $3,500 US, which translates to almost 5,500 Australian dollars.
Oh my. Oh my.
Ooh. We have officially reached a milestone on this channel, reviewing a STRATOS-FI level IEM. This is it. I'm honestly terrified right now. I've never been so terrified holding an IEM. I almost feel like I need to hire a bodyguard just to guard my ears as I'm listening to these. Anyway, we're here now, but before I begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Damien once again and the Australian Head-Fi Tour for this once in a blue moon opportunity. I truly appreciate it, and as always, if you've been enjoying the content, a sub and like to the channel would truly be amazing, so thank you all. Now that's all out of the way, let's talk about the unboxing experience, because for 5,500 Australian dollars, you better expect one. And if you are here to discuss diminishing returns, you are watching the wrong video, because this is the realm where the topic of diminishing returns is moot. Anyway, for the unboxing experience, Plussound fortunately delivers in spades, at least if you get the launch edition, which I'm assuming this is. As seen in the long intro of this video, it comes with this beautiful box, and upon opening it, you'll be blocked by this piece of acrylic to let you know where this IEM is made from, and after removing that, you'll be greeted by an absolutely beautiful brown leather case. Talk about a premium feeling case. This is truly a premium case. That feel, that color, it just matches the theme so perfectly. Nice, smooth zip, and upon opening it, you'll be greeted by the cable and the IEMs themselves, which of course is nicely protected by the reviewer before me, but that's besides the point. You can remove this piece from the case, and under there you have a cleaning cloth, of course, and you're definitely going to need this. A leather strap, a cleaning tool, and it gave you a bundle of ear tips for you to use, and it's important as I'll explain why later. It also comes with a lot of cables as part of this tour, but you're only going to get one cable if you purchase this IEM, which is the EXO series cable, which is valued at $1,050. Everything about this package is so expensive, but anyway, due to the amount of time allowed for this IEM, I simply used the cable that came attached to it, which is this black cable, which has similar feel to the Unique Melody Mesh Mark II cable without the weird ear hook angles. And there are other cables that came with this tour, and the one that looks the best is the light gray with the bronze copper on the termination ear hooks. That looks so beautiful. And Plussound makes a lot of custom cables, and some of their cables can go up to 3,000 Australian dollars depending on which wire type you choose. Holy Lord of Dingoes, that's a lot of money for a cable. Wow, this hobby sucks more money than a black hole. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to test these cables in depth to fully understand or decipher how each cable sounds with the Plussound Allegro, so my experience will be based off the black cable, and I'll leave to the cable experts to decipher that experience in depth. For the design of these IEMs, if you're not factoring fit and comfort issues, these IEMs look simply beautiful. That copper colored faceplate with sharp edges and the multifaceted shell design, it looks like a gemstone. This is one of those IEMs that I'd be wanting to show everyone, or even go up to someone and tap on their shoulders and go, hey, look what I'm wearing in my ear. Of course I'd be slapped, but at least I managed to show them what a beautiful IEM this is. And then reality hits. Fit and comfort. This IEM is chonky with all capital letters. And just putting up the Monarch Mark III as a comparison, the Monarch Mark III is already chonky, but with enough grooves and contours to its shell design, it helps with making a more comfortable fit. The multifaceted shell design on the Plussound Allegro may look good, but it sacrifices on practicality because there isn't any contours or curves on the Allegro because its core designs are hard lines. So putting them into my ear, as I'm adjusting it, I could feel those edges rubbing against my ears, which isn't the best feeling to have. And I have to note as well, this IM is very ear tip dependent for sound and specifically fit, because if you're wearing any ear tips that's protruding outwards, it pushes the Allegro out of your ear, and it's just really difficult to get a seal since the IM is always wanting to fall out due to its size, weight, and shape. So you need to opt for shorter, preferably silicone ear tips for better grips to help push the Allegro deeper into your ear, and hopefully the ear tips help grip the sides of your ear for security. So far, the best ear tips I found that suited my ears personally was using the Setna ear tips due to how grippy it is. Even with that, I'd still put a big caution for smaller sized ears, because if you manage to push this IM deeper, means it's going to have a few pressure points around your ears because of its size, and you need to find the perfect angle and the perfect ear tips for things to align properly and be out of the way. And for me personally, I couldn't fully enjoy my experience with the Allegro due to this factor, but this is just one aspect of the whole experience. Let's find out what does a 5,500 Australian dollar IM sound like. Is it going to be otherworldly? Are you going to have an out-of-body experience? Deep breaths, let's explore. For bass note is full and weighty, there's a lot of meat on the bones, and you can hear all that, but for slam and impact, there isn't a lot present. So if you're looking for that big, deep thump of bass, you'd be left a little disappointed. However, as the name suggests, the bass note is clean and quick for a dynamic driver. Imagine a polished metal ball, but when it hits you, it's not as impactful as you thought it was. It's not the kind of bass presentation that keeps your head bobbing to the beat, so I hear the bass, but I wish I could feel it a bit more. There's some rumble coming in from the deep end, but all in all, the bass presentation is sufficient as information and to provide some accompaniment to the track. But at the end of tracks, I'm left with wanting a little bit more, especially to balance out the amount of treble the Allegro presents. More on that later. If you're looking for a controlled bass presentation, I think the Plussound Allegro fulfills that criteria. For mid-range, this is another all-in-one sound presentation. Background sound is as present as the vocals. The lower frequency helps gives the vocals a bit of note weight, but it still steers clear of the mid-range. So vocals are clean and clear, with the overall presentation leaning towards being on the forward side. How the treble is presented also helps with vocals sounding clear, and it maintains a fine balance between having a note that is clear but still having that fullness. However, being on the forward side, it does have its impact on how you receive the sound, especially with its treble presence. Let's explore. For treble, there's a lot of energy in this region, especially in the treble extension. It's really prominent, and it was the first thing that stood out in the track as soon as I hit play. I have to put a caution for treble sensitive people because the Allegro bites, and if you're sensitive to treble, it'll bite you hard. Even for me personally, this is leaning towards being a little too energetic for my liking personally. It does help with its technicalities, which I'll explore more later, but for female vocals, those S's and T's are going to cut through your eardrums and penetrate your brain. Trumpets sound open, strong, and really sharp, almost leaning towards being a little unnatural. It helps with vocal clarity and the perception of an open sounding presentation, but I can imagine this being a bit too fatiguing for a lot of listeners. I think treble heads will enjoy the amount of treble presence the Allegro has, but for me personally, I wish there was more bass to help with masking some of that sharpness, because the double DDs aren't working as strongly as those ESTs. For technicalities, this is where the Allegro shines best. Details, details, and more details. I mean, I just came off the Master Mark III, and the Allegro appears to have a bit more detail presence, and it's probably due to how the sound is presented with how forward the overall presentation is, coupled with this treble tuning. You hear a lot of details in the track. Macro details, micro details, is all coming at you. You can pinpoint them between the left and right channel. However, the overall soundstage sounded a bit narrow and closed in, and even though the sounds are well separated, it's hard to gauge a sense of space and depth within the soundstage because there's all these details coming at you all at once. On tracks that aren't as busy, then the presence of each details give it that sense of space within the soundstage, which is great, but then when it all comes alive, I needed a small break in between sessions. I love my details, don't get me wrong, but on the Allegro, I'm wishing the sound presentation took a small step back so I could breathe a little. So while this IM can handle really busy tracks, it comes down to whether you, the listener, is able to absorb all those info. For power on the 4.4 termination, I'm getting to about 9 to 10 o'clock on the dial, so it does require a little bit of juice, which is understandable considering how many driver it's powering. So to sum it all up, the Plussound Allegro sounds good, with a controlled and warm presentation with a lot of details, but it wasn't something that knocked me out of my socks, which for an IM at this price point, which I'm categorizing as STRATOS-FI, that's what I expected to feel out of this session from its sound performance, but I left feeling somewhat underwhelmed. If we're purely talking about its unboxing experience and accessories like the cables, the look and feel of the IEMs, then yeah, the Plussound Allegro meets my expectations of what STRATOS-FI level IEMs should bring in this aspect of the experience. But with the fit not working for me personally and the sound left me wanting more in certain aspects while being a bit too much on some, the Plussound Allegro is unfortunately not the glass shoe that fits my feet. However, this is based on one man's experience and I'm curious to know yours. Will you be brave enough to place this pebble in your ear? Or what are the aspects of this package that appeals to you? Comment below, let me know. And once again, thank you to Damien and the Australian Head-Fi Tour for this opportunity. And to all of you for watching. Until the next experience, take care and happy listening.